either way, whoever gets there, we are still winning. Because if you get there and it's aligned for you, that is still a win for me, because that's still my sister winning. So if I'm really good at training, I need to invest all my energy first into building my craft really immaculately. So that when I do walk in a room, I'm not trying to prove to you that I'm good at it. I'm showing you I'm good at it. That you can't doubt my talent, you can't doubt my work and my skill. I think that's really important.
I mean, we've got, clients in the education sector. That's what we ask teachers. You're going to be in the classroom with learners there. What are you going to do, or how are you going to do this? Then they often say, if there's no resource, or if there are no resources, then I can't do anything. Ma'am, yes you can.
Yes you can. Yes.
Yes you can.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I am a woman phenomenal woman, that is me. So those are the words of Maya Angelou. Hello guys, welcome to Couch Talk with LHS. I'm your host, Mpele, and as always, I am sitting with Zanele Buthelezi. So today, as we celebrate Women's Month, I had to take an opportunity to deal and to talk with another phenomenal woman. So in studio, we've got Ashalia Maharaj. Just a bit about Ashalia before we continue. She is a learning professional. I love that. Learning professional, a global speaker, youth coach, facilitator, and you're the founder and director of Sivuka Youth. Yeah. So tell us a bit about that before we get into our topic.
Oh my goodness! Sure, it's been quite a journey in my career. I think I've gone through those winds that we do in our careers, and it's not as straight as I think I thought it would be after university, which led me eventually to Sivuka Youth. But it was always a burning thing in my belly. I always felt like there was something needing to be birthed, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. And through the journey of working in corporate and figuring out where my passion is, I think that's one thing that I always knew, that I wanted to do something that's meaningful and purposeful. Because for me personally, if it didn't feel meaningful, if my work didn't feel like, if I went home and laid my head on the pillow and felt like, sure, I didn't do enough today, I didn't do what I should have done today, I struggled. There was an internal battle. So what I think along that journey of my career, figuring out my passion projects, figuring out what I loved, figuring out what I didn't like, because those are the things that are important,
yes.
And working out how I get through them. Because in corporate, it's very structured. And I think on that path of figuring me out, Sivuka was building and building and building. Because as an Indian female coming into corporate after university, it was the toughest thing to find mentors, training, resources. I did not have it. And I'm not saying it as a problem. It was actually an opportunity for me, because I had to figure it out. I had to find good collaborators, other women in good positions who I wanted to learn from. I had to find the training myself. I had to learn from the hardships myself. And along the way, I think all those lessons and this beautiful thing that I call this winding journey was this baby being built. I always say it's my fourth child, because I've got 3 girls. But this one is my fourth, because it was built out of a culmination of learnings and callings of saying, this resonates, this project feels good, let's mentor here, let's teach here, let's pick this up, let's make these processes better. So it wasn't anything that I had planned as such. I didn't have a clear business plan. I'm not like, in 10 years, this is what I'm going to do. It actually wasn't clear at all. And that led me to a lot of frustration. But that frustration was good, because I think it kept me wanting to learn and figure things out.
I think most of the babies, just to add on what you're saying, most of the businesses that are coming up are built from that. So it's not always, you have a perfect picture or a perfect plan. It's based on things that you see, because you learn about yourself as well. Like you said, I like the fact that you said there were certain things that you saw that you liked and certain
Yes.
things that you didn't like.
Yes.
But you learned through that corporate
That's it.
experience.
That structure of corporate can build so much in you.
Mm.
I was never good with corporate because I disliked the rigidity of it. However, that being said, it did teach me, I don't enjoy this level of deep, forced performance. That's what I realized I didn't enjoy. Is it necessary for business? Yes, performance is necessary. But I think learning from corporate, what are the structures in place? What is happening? Being in an HR environment for so long helps me in my business today because I see so many other women struggling with that. And I come from HR. So it was beautiful learning all those mechanisms. What's the legislature? What's the policies? What's working for people? Because when we're on the ground and we get to see so many people and how these policies affect them, you get to see what do you want in your business one day? How would you want to run your business one day? For me, for example, we've got an all-female team.
Oh, that's nice.
So for me, it's important. Are we taking our premenstrual days into consideration?
Exactly.
Are we working with our cycles? Are we flowing with how are you feeling? What's happening in you? Because when we're at our best, we're at our best. But when we are feeling low and not great, I know you can't give your best.
No, absolutely.
So take a day off. Work from bed. Take your sleep that you need so that you're investing in your body and mind and spirit so that the business can flourish. And I've noticed once I started doing that with the business, and as opposed to forcing the performance, because money is needed, we've got to run a business. But when I did it the other way and honored the feminine flow of doing things in managing this business, abundance was much more fruitful. We got clients that really aligned with us. We got projects that really aligned with us. So our work became more meaningful for everyone. And then what we found is through the harder times, we're actually able to work through it better than if we were working on a very strict, structured, rigid, performance-based process. So Sivuka was really born of that, is taking my experience of feeling like, you know what, I wish I had the training and resources that meant something to me when I was younger. Because I don't know if your first job is going to be that usually never is. Your first job or your first industry is usually never where you're going to stay.
Where you're going to stay, exactly.
So I wanted to make sure that we are uplifting and empowering truthfully young people in business or in corporate, because I felt like work readiness training is great. I can teach you how to type up an email, I can teach you how to be on time, I can teach you all those things, right? But the things for me that I really struggled with was finances when I was coming up. I come from a single income home where my dad struggled to pay for my university fees, so I had to take a student loan. So now, in my first job, it's not the same as my friend who I went to university with who had her parents pay for her fees. I'm now in debt, firstly, and now I'm also wanting to show up, right? I want to make sure I look good. I'm showing up for everybody who has hopes for me, but that put me in more debt. Carrying those specific handbags, making sure you're dressed in a certain way, that's unnecessary. It's unnecessary for where we come from. For people of color, it's a different journey completely.
Sure.
Can I just add on that? Because I mean, it's something that, as much as we would want or not want to share it, it's there, it happens.
It's there.
You know, for people of color, I found out, because I mean, I'm in the same space,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I found it's so much different compared to our counterparts, because as a black female or as a person of color, especially
Yeah.
when you're a female,
Yeah.
you need to prove yourself 10 times more.
Yes.
If I walk through a room,
Yeah.
people are probably just going to say, oh, okay. But first, I need to look the part to be taken seriously, for somebody to recognize. And if I speak, I need to prove myself that I know what I'm talking about. You know, other than if a counterpart comes through the room, immediately you're in. So whatever is you're gonna say is just adding to whatever it is. But for us, we need to fight for it.
Correct.
Do you find it the same way though?
120%. I've got to prove that my work is worthy of the world. And that is frustrating. I always felt that in corporate, I always had to prove myself much more. And I think I took on the viewpoint that, well, I'm going to. No matter what I look like or how you're going to judge me or what your perceptions are, my work is going to speak for itself. So I used to get so frustrated with it that I almost used it as fuel to say, well, actually, think what you will, because I can't control the perception right now, given the systemic influence of it. That's big. That's bigger than me. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure my work is 100% on point. And we do it in our business too now. And now we take it to our young people. So when we are coaching and training young people now, the same thing comes up now, years later, because they are afraid of, Ash, I don't know how to speak. If I speak Zulu as my first language, I'm translating in my head, Ash. Or I speak 3 different languages. And now you've got a place to be able to say, oh, this is frustrating and stressful. Now you've got somebody who's saying, it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel like you don't belong, because that is how it feels. It feels like I don't belong and I need to prove my position to you and I need to prove my worth. I'm done with that. You are worthy as you are. You got to where you are based on everything you've overcome. And these young people, oh my goodness, these young people of color now, the young woman, the stories that we get to hear is astounding. The challenges that they've overcome and work through to become who they are is absolutely astounding. And then when you look at it and then they're viewing themselves as less than in that world, that's the thing that we say, let's remove that. That doesn't belong to you. Because the world can't tell you who you need to be, can't tell you what you're worth. You decide that for yourself. But just because you don't look a certain way or don't speak a certain way, we're not going to use that as a reason for you not to get to where you need to go. Because you got here, didn't you? So now let's just clear off the mess and let's focus. So I feel like that experience for me, while it is still challenging, I like it because it has shown me what I'm capable of. And even now, I find, when we were speaking about it just before we started, I find that the most powerful allies I have are women. They are women of color who are supporting me and I am supporting them, so that we are moving together. We are saying, we've got a long battle. We've got a long battle. Today commemorates a long battle that we had, that our sisters fought for us to have a voice. But in my mind, we are far from where we need to be. But if we can approach it with our strength together in numbers, I think we're far better off than just saying, I'm on my own. Because we are not. We're all going through those same battles. And if we can just come together and say, your pain is mine. How do we unleash it and how do we use it to move forward? Because I think sometimes sitting in that pain can hold us back.
I can agree with you because I mean we at a space where we are, they've got like networking sessions, right? And you might find that we see other people that are in the same industry, HR people. I mean you and I are in the same industry, where they shy away from talking to us because I mean you're doing the same thing that I'm doing, and I see it as, let's not do that. We are stronger together because there's certain businesses that I might get. And if I don't have enough resources, can we go to you? Business? Yes. We'll go to you. Yes. Because in that case, then we work with people that we trust. Because it goes back to what you were saying again, that let your work speak for itself. Yes. Because some of the businesses that we got were referrals. Yes. Because of people that have worked with you.
100%.
That's great.
The thing about collaborating, I think, as women, I think we're still new to it. And I think I've learned one thing that is powerful that I've drawn from how men network. It's significantly different from how women do it. But what I do find is that the competition has not come from us. The competition has come from how the world is structured. Because when there are limited opportunities, right? If you and I are vying for the same opportunity, we're obviously going to compete. But there's a difference between good competition and bad.
Yes.
My job is not to pull you down so I get ahead. My job is to do the best that I can and focus on my work. Because my unique business, my unique ability might be aligned to that opportunity or it might not. But either way, whoever gets there, we are still winning. Because if you get there and it's aligned for you, that is still a win for me. Because that's still my sister winning. It's not the fact that you've won over me. And I do think that it's almost that pageantry mindset of saying, if you win, I'm losing. It's not the case. Because I still see it now. Even though I'm in business, I have so many beautiful, amazing women in corporate. They are fighting battles I cannot. I can't do what they do. They are so beautiful in who they are. They are smart, intelligent, talented. They've learned how to strategically view the corporate place and work through it really, really elegantly. I cannot do it. It is not my strength to do it. But they are winning their battles in corporate. Doesn't mean it's different to my wins, but we're doing it together. Because when we're a minority group, when we are a minority of power and influence, which we are, temporarily, in order for us to shift that balance, your win, doesn't matter. I should be clapping for you genuinely, and if I'm not clapping for you, I learned this once, I can't remember where I picked it up, but if I'm not clapping for you, if there's an ounce of jealousy that comes up, it's my work to do. I need to pay attention to what that feeling is and what work I need to do in myself, because all you're doing is you're showing me the path. You're showing me what's possible. So if I've got some ounce, even if it's that teeny weeny ounce of like, oh, how come she got it and I didn't? There's work I need to do. Because there's a calling in there to say, well, maybe go learn. And that is what I've learned from how men network and build themselves. Is they say, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Can you show me? We're not afraid to say, we need to not be afraid to say, what can I learn from you, my sister? What have you done? What have you done along this path? You're doing it now with this. This is beautiful. Because it's a story that other women can hear. Take what they need, leave what they don't, and hopefully it burns something in them to build their path forward. And I think that's the power that we've got as women, and if we lean into it more, we talk about collaboration over competition, but it is the inner work of saying, I'm so secure in my work, I'm so absolutely confident in who I am, that who you are does not threaten me, it actually uplifts me. Because me being in this room now with you beautiful women and seeing all that you've done, it gives me such joy and hope to say, this is amazing, that's still happening. The world is not on my shoulders to take care of everything. We're all moving in our own parts of the world, but we're moving forward. And we're lifting each other as we go.
No, absolutely. No, that's great.
Are there any women that inspired you in your journey, that you looked at their stories and you said, oh, actually, because I'm listening to you now, I'm thinking there might be a woman listening to you and saying, I actually resonate with this story, and this person inspires me, right? Were there those kinds of women that you looked up to?
Absolutely. And I think they all came from the workspaces that I was in. I think I really identified strengths in women that I did not possess as I was growing. And it wasn't necessarily in business, it was more in corporate. So if I joined a workplace, I would watch women move. I'd watch them and observe. How do you move? How do you speak? How do you handle that meeting? Because when you're in male-dominated environments or male-influenced environments, women's voices can tend to be quite low and not heard as much. So I tried to identify the women who had similar personalities to me, right? And how did they navigate it? And when I identified them, I'd ask for time. I'd say, please give me some of your time. No matter where I was in, as long as I remained a sponge, even now, because I don't know everything, I cannot do everything. I know that each of us has a power and a purpose, so if I can learn from you and draw from you, I'm bolding. So I think along the way there have been so many influential women, so many, too many to even count, but bless their souls because they are still cheering me on today and I'm still supporting them today. In fact, I did a talk a couple of months ago, and I saw some of these mentors that I have idolized and watched them move. And I was on a panel with them, and my heart was shaking.
We know here.
Yeah. Okay. And that was the moment, and they actually spoke to me before, because they're some of the strongest women I know, and they said to me, but you're here with us. That's it. Take your space, you don't drop your voice because we are with you. But it was such a beautiful moment to be able to see the people that you've looked up to. How you learn from them and what you take from them is up to you. Because it's not their job to guide you or mold you. It's their job to follow their path and move. It's your job to stand along the side and say, what can I draw from you to help me get to that point where I'm hopefully turning around and giving back to, by leading my life fully and wholly. I think those women are pivotal in our growth, because I do think sometimes as you're growing as well, you might be afraid to ask for that help. You might be afraid of reaching out. But I do believe I would not be here without those women. I have connected with the most amazing coaches, my trainers that have taught me more than just what they were teaching me. They taught me so much more about being a woman in business. For example, my coaching trainer, Julie Parker, she's one of the most phenomenal women who has led a soul-aligned business. And truthfully, when I studied coaching, I only did it because I wanted to learn more about myself. I thought, let me go do this. This sounds like a good idea. And then it burgeoned into this thing that became Sivuka Youth eventually. And it was because I witnessed her and witnessed how easeful, powerful, and connected she ran her business. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I want to do that. Because when you're living your best, if you're on your path in the best possible way, it's going to inspire somebody else. And that's the only way you can light up the next generation or people around you, is by following your inner calling to say, this is what I believe is correct. This is what I'm going to do wholeheartedly. And I think that's powerful, when we're not trying to necessarily show people the perfect way, because I don't think that exists. I think just doing it your way and sharing all of it is a powerful act for women, where we can then draw from. I don't want to say take, because I feel like we draw from each other. There's a whole concept of reverse mentorship that's come into play now in HR especially. But that is so real, because we are not just a sum of our experience or a sum of our years on earth. We have so much divine intelligence in us. There is so much wealth of experience that I learned from coaching young people. I'm like, sure, you've inspired me today. It was meant to be the other way around. But I walk away a better person. So I think learning from each other, building those people who you really want to draw from, and keep building that in you. Because there's something there. I remember somebody saying, I think it was Oprah, who said, when you admire another woman or another person, there is something in that person that you identify with. It's not that you just admire that person. There's something in you that I admire that is there, and for me, then the work is to tap into that. And I think the first time I heard that, I admired the likes of Maya Angelou, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama. I still adore them. But knowing that, because sometimes we can see them as different or separate from. But knowing that, and then I'm like, oh, and then I read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. And I'm like, oh, it's the same thing. We're on the same journey. You don't know me.
Exactly.
But I know your spirit. And this is beautiful that you just sharing your journey helped me see that I'm just unfolding in each level, in each way. I'm just unfolding. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not trying to be like you. I just want to be the best version of
yourself.
That's it.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that we need to also just share with our viewers is that as much as I would get inspired by somebody, I still need to put in the work myself. Because you didn't just get here by I'm inspiring this person or I'm inspired by this person or doing this. You also just tapped into that inner personality, or you did the work. You made sure of the steps that you needed to take to get where you are now.
100%. Because if we don't put in the work, I think that fairy tale concept for young women is so dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
Even with my girls, I get so guarded about reading fairy tales to them, because the truth is no one's coming to save you. And the minute we realize that we are not helpless, we are not victims, even though circumstances may have told us, they've pushed us in a corner to make us feel like we cannot. In my view, the biggest lesson that we can build for young women, in business or in corporate, wherever it is no one's coming to save them. We are the saviors. We're going to
Exactly.
take care of it. We're going to roll up our sleeves,
And we're
get
gonna-
our hands dirty, and we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, we're going to take a step back. We're going to figure out the next game plan. But the thing is, it's ours to make. And if we choose not to, we choose not to. It's all in our effort that we put in. So I love that. I 100% agree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You also mentioned, Ash, that sometimes in corporate, we're not heard, which is true. We've seen it. So how would you then motivate female leaders or people that are just, scared to go into that leadership role because I'm going to be working in a male-dominated environment?
Yeah.
They're not going to be hearing me, or I'm scared if I do this. Culturally, you know how it works. But now we're in a working environment. So how would you then strike a balance, or how would you motivate those female leaders?
We need them in those positions. We need them in those positions of influence and power. Because the more they are in those positions, the more our voices as a collective gets heard. So to me, they need to focus on where they are and the impact they can possibly make with where they are. It might, so I feel like women in leadership in corporate, the ones that I have seen really make great strides in changes and impact. We can't do it all at once because this is the long game we're playing. So I think every woman in any capacity, even if they're not in leadership and they aim to be, what is your influence? What is your sphere of influence right now? Who can you influence and what processes or policies can you influence right now? It could be a minimal amount, it could be a great amount, depending on your level. But regardless, you have influence and power. Learn as much as you can about how to play the game really well. Learn the leadership theory. Go on as many courses as you can. Learn from your male counterparts. The boys' club is real. Now, I still attest to that, even in business. But in my view, the girls' club is real too. We need allies as well. We need our male allies in positions of power for us to also succeed. So for me, it's not about focusing on what I don't have influence or power over. It's more the other way. What can I do with what I have? It's the same in business, right?
True.
When I don't have the resources, when I don't have massive capacity, what can I do with what I have? So I'd say the same thing to females in leadership. We need you. We need you to be moving up and we support you. But putting in the work to understand what your sphere of influence is and how that can keep growing, whether in that same company or another, I believe it moves with you. Build that leadership development in yourself so that you can continue to influence really authentically and true to who you are. Not necessarily the way that it's been, because I do believe our female leaders are pioneers in this generation. We are we're taking on so much. But I think if we do it in a very authentic way, we're doing it with meaning. Even if you make one policy change in your entire tenure, you've made one policy change. Now when you hand over to the next person, she can continue. It's not that you've got to do it all. I think the more we work together, and protect our connection. A conference I was in, one of the HR leaders there, she said, when you go back to the office, just tell them you went on a knitting course or something. Don't bother giving away our secrets. Let's protect our girls' club. Let's protect our knowledge and our wisdom. Let's protect our expertise, connect where we need to, and then keep moving ahead. Because the battle is not going to be won with us giving away all our information. We've got some wisdom here that I think the more we protect and the more we hold, the more influence we're able to make in our own way as women. Because I do think there's a stark difference between the way women lead and the way men lead.
Definitely. Absolutely. You know what I appreciate, even with our talks now, anything that is a stumbling block is not a stoppage for
Yes.
you.
Yes.
It's just a challenge or a hurdle that we need to come across or
Yeah.
that we need to jump over.
Yeah.
Because those are the things, for example, when we interviewed, I mean, we've got, clients in the education
Yeah.
sector. That's what we
Yeah.
ask teachers. You're going to be in the classroom with learners there. What are you going to do or how are you going to do this? Then they often say, if there's no resource or if there are no resources, then I can't do anything. Ma'am, yes you
Yes,
can.
you can. Yes.
Yes, you can. You can use whatever. You don't have to spend money. You can
Mm.
use whatever that you have, right, at home, wherever,
Yeah.
even in the schoolyard,
Yeah.
to make something or to continue presenting
Yeah.
your lesson. So just as part of that, what are the challenges that you are facing in business?
Sure.
Because I can give you a list. I can give you a list, but we continue forward.
Business is challenging,
Yeah.
but it's a beautiful challenge if it's going to knock you down 1,000 times till Sunday. But how many times you get up and how passionate you are about the work that you do is the differentiator. And that's why I think I'm so confident in speaking about finding your passion work. And I don't mean passion as just the things that you enjoy. I mean the thing that you're called to do in this lifetime. I do firmly believe that we all have a purpose. And I was asked once by another female entrepreneur, because she was selling products and she wasn't really enjoying her work, and she was in the business for a couple of years, and she said, Ash, I'm not really enjoying this, And I said, well, if you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? Because even on my worst day, I still love what I do. My business is 100% equity. There's no funding in our business. And I'm so proud of that fact. Yet, that was the fact that used to get me down. When I first started, I'm like, wow, they all talk about female entrepreneurship. They talk about all these options and opportunities. And I'm like, but where is it? There's no village coming here to help me now that I've decided to step out. So then I have to face the facts of no one's coming to save me. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to do what I can with what I have. So I had 500 Rand to spend. 500 Rand. I'm like, what am I going to spend this on? How do I start a business with 500 Rand? But I did. And then that was my distinct thought, was that resources are going to be a challenge. If I don't get funding, resources are going to be a challenge. Cash flow is going to be a challenge, because now our business operates seasonally, right? So what are the options? I have to make sure that every amount that is profited in this business goes back into the business and reinvested. So that is a very clear focus for me. My priorities got really clear when starting the business. I'm not spending money to show the next person that I have made it. I am spending money to keep my team growing, to keep my family supported, and to keep this work expanding. That's the focus. So for me, resources is still a challenge. But in my view, if I continue doing as I've done, keep bringing the money back in, keep focusing on our next level of expansion, not paying attention to the entire staircase, so not paying attention of where I want, because I don't really know, to be honest. And I think if I had a very clear plan, it would probably derail the work that needed to be done. So instead, we focus on, okay, what's the next level? What have we learned from where we've come from? Where are we now? What is the next level? And each time we do that, we expand in a lateral way that is so deep and meaningful. And I think that's been really helpful for me. There's a lot of challenges, but the meaning of the work and the impact of the work keeps us going.
Definitely.
We take our day to cry. We take our 5 minutes. I mean, I tell my girls the same thing. You fell down, I'm so sorry. Got a hug for you. We can come here for your soft place. But we're going to dust it off and we're going to keep going. Because this work is bigger than us. This is not me doing the work. And I always say to the team that it's not me doing the work and it's not you doing the work. The impact, look at it. We get messages from students who have been in our course 3 years ago. And they're like, oh my goodness, I'm seeing now this apply to a new role that I'm in. I started a business and this is what I'm doing. That's what we're here for. We keep doing and keep following the breadcrumbs. Then the challenges or the lack or that deficit focus becomes shifted to what do we have? Because we can get in that funk, and because there isn't a cheerleading squad behind you to say,
Not,
you know, keep going. I've got to be my own cheerleader.
Of course.
On those days when I don't
Of course.
feel like it, I have a choice.
Yeah.
The choice is in me. And on the days that I need to rest and I need to take care of myself, I need to do that. Because those are some of the challenges that I face, is me saying, wow, I'm reaching a burnout stage. I think women are more impacted by this because of the level of responsibility in our households, in life. So for me, I've had to get clear on my priorities in order to tackle all the challenges that come with business. And that list is written down in my own handwriting and next to me in my journal, so that every day I'm refocusing back to where I know my energy needs to go. So on days when things feel a bit chaotic or times feel chaotic, because it can, I come back to center. What are the most important things to me? And always on top of the list is me. Is my energy right? Is my body right? Is my mind right? Is my spirit right? Because I've noticed my business is a soul-aligned business. If I am not aligned in those 4 things, everything else just kind of, yeah. So I need to be really strong in my own leadership. In my home, I need to be a present mom. I need to be a present wife. Those are important to me. So everything else that doesn't form part of those priorities, it's a no for me. So I won't engage or use my energy in other places besides these areas. And I think focusing our energy is really important, because sometimes when it gets scattered and then we have a challenge in the business, we could crumble. And I think we've got far too much to win. We've got a big road ahead of us. We don't have that opportunity to be able to be defocused. We have only the need to be absolutely laser focused on where we're going. And then I think when those challenges come, take your day, take your 5 minutes, dust it off, and keep going.
I don't know how many times, sorry Zanele, before you continue, I've always had chats with the team, just to say, you know what, I don't know how many times I felt like I want to give up. But you go through the same process, cry about it, go through your emotions, it's fine. You're allowed to do so.
Yes.
You know, don't just
Suppress
ignore
it.
them, don't suppress them. Go through your emotions, dust yourself off. Tomorrow I'm a different person altogether. You know, that's how life operates.
That's it.
And like you said, we've got a lot to win.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you maintain work-life balance? I mean, you're a mom, you're a wife, a mom to 3 beautiful daughters, a wife, a businesswoman. I mean, it gets a lot at times. How do you maintain that work-life balance?
I don't think it's completely balanced. And I think I've gotten to be okay with that. I'm very grateful to be a mom. I don't take it for granted, not one day. I'm very grateful to have a husband who supports me. So I think he's got a lot to do with the way I can handle things. But I think there is no balance. But always trying to make sure the pieces that are the biggest to you, the pieces that are most important to you, are managed well. I think that's how I try to remain steady more than balanced. So I think that's more it, is me doing daily checks of where am I at in myself, in my being. Am I feeling balanced and steady to manage the day? Because there are some days when this will pull heavier than this. And I might need to be on projects or traveling and I'm not present with my kids. And that pulls me really hard. But I put mechanisms in place to make sure my kids are well supported. So whether it means me letting them know they are loved and cared for and mom is still present in your life. And that when this period of intensity for work declines, I can then refocus here and spend more quality time with them. But it has to be the bigger picture of what that whole system looks like. I think me accepting that sometimes it's going to be off balance, especially as the business grows, is me accepting that. And that I can't be perfect. I'm going to mess up.
Yes.
And for me to actually say sorry to them and to say, guys, I'm sorry I haven't been very present. It changes nothing in terms of what my priorities are. But I think that step back, going back to that, is really important, is understanding what are the big rocks in your little balancing act. What are the big ones and what are the smaller ones? Because I think when you know that, the clarity when things get chaotic or busy is much better. There's that old analogy of the glass jar, where this professor says there are rubber balls. No, it's not the glass jar. It's the balls of life. I think it was a Coca-Cola CEO who said this. He said there were rubber balls, there are glass balls that you are juggling. If you drop a glass ball, it breaks indefinitely, right? Or it gets nicked or it's scratched. But it can't be back to where it was. Rubber ball will bounce and come back. Identifying what are your rubber balls and what are your glass balls has been important for me. Because, for example, I've had to cut out a lot from my life. I've had to cut out socializing a lot, because socializing can take a lot of your time. Social media can take a lot of your time. I always ask myself the question of what is glass and what is rubber in this case. Because if I drop that ball and it's glass, like it being my health or my family or the business, it can't necessarily be repaired. Rubber ball, no problem. Friends are on the sideline, they're here to support you, clap for you when you're winning, help you up when you're down, but they are not consistent in the growth of what you are trying to do, because what you're trying to do is far bigger than what you may have previously envisioned or the previous goals you've had in your mind. And I think as the goals get bigger, you need to get clearer on what you actually got in your hands. Sometimes you need to put some stuff down, focus here, you can pick it up again. But understanding what your yeses are and what your nos are, I think that helps me keep steady as I'm navigating this. It's like an enmeshment. It's an enmeshment of life. It's no longer work and personal. For me, it's just a beautiful, divine enmeshment of all the things that I love. I really love the work that I do. I really love my family. I love my team. I love my husband. I love everything that makes this work beautiful, because it's life. This is the life I've chosen.
Exactly.
It wasn't given to me. Nobody said, hey Ash, this is what I've chosen. So I'm going to do everything that I can to navigate it with the most ease, the most love, and the most connection to all those around me and the work, so that I'm doing the work that I was called to do. And I think that's what gives me the steadiness.
Absolutely. And then when you start, you know how we have all these fairy tales when you're starting a business.
Yeah.
What did you think you were going to see, or experience now, short after you've started a business, and that you are not yet seeing? I can give you an example with myself. I'm still looking for flexibility, guys. Where is he? Where is this flexibility?
Yeah.
Because we have dreams of saying, okay, fine, I'm not working for somebody, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Mondays I'm not going to be there, or Fridays I'm not going to be there. I'll just work like a 4-day week. And to reality, it does not work like that. Especially when you're starting out. If you're a small business, we tend to work inside the business and not necessarily outside of the business.
Yeah.
So for you, are you experiencing it differently, or what is it that you think or you thought?
I think that was one of the things that I experienced initially.
I think with everybody.
Because you're working more hours than you ever have for any other role you've had.
Definitely.
And I think that was one thing, but it does come. It does come once you're clear on your boundaries of where your investment needs to be. Because in what I started doing, and it was a teaching from one of my coaches, was actually just to take Mondays off. But that was really hard for my performance-driven brain coming from corporate to take Monday off. I felt like I'm not doing anything. But I reshaped it and refocused it. My coach said it beautifully. She said, well, consider what investment you're making into yourself. Because if you are training for the rest of the time in the week, if you're leading the business and you're coaching, what good a person are you going to be to these people if you cannot invest in your well-being? So I had to be really clear on it. And I think it shifts and changes as the business changes. So I think flexibility must also come with us, that there are going to be periods where I am pushing a 24-hour day because I'm not sleeping and I'm focusing on a big project. But then the rest must come, and the ease must come, so that I'm replenishing myself. Because for me, what I've seen is when I do that, when I set those healthy boundaries, and with myself, because I could say to the team, guys, I'm not available from until 9:30 in the morning, which is my case. I say, guys, I'm not available. That is my gym time, it's my meditation time, it's me, right? So, but if they message me and I respond to that message, I'm not honoring that boundary with myself. So for me, it's actually creating what you envision your business to be. And some days it's not going to look like that. To give yourself grace and to say, well, it'll happen the next day. But to make sure you're honoring the boundaries, not just with other people, but with yourself first, of what is needed for the business. Because for me, once I started doing that religiously, habitually, I saw the impact in the business. I saw how much more centered I was when I'm honoring my boundary and my time. But as the business shifted, I had to then shift my boundaries. But to go back to your question of what do I think I'm still missing, maybe it's the I don't know. Actually, now that you asked that question, I think I'm so satisfied and happy.
That's great though.
I used to be very frustrated with the lack of opportunities for funding. That's what I used to be frustrated, because that was a kind of a thing that has been placed in our minds or in the media. It's quite marketed very well. That's one thing I've never been able to get, and now I do not want. Because now I'm like, well, okay.
You tried, you did it on your own.
It takes a lot of effort. I'm going to do this on my own. And so I think that could have been it. That thing that has been kind of, not promised, but said, you know, there's opportunities for women, I think, and youth. I think that's one thing that maybe I want to say. I think there's a lot of opportunities for youth, but I don't know if there's enough support systems. That's it. True support systems. That we are genuinely holding space for each other in South Africa. We're genuinely encouraging each other and taking care of each other in the way that's meaningful. Maybe that, if that, yeah.
Okay. And then last question from my side, Ash. There are a number of females that want to go into this entrepreneurial journey. And they might not even know where to start, or they might know where to start, and they're sitting in the same spot saying, I don't have funding, I'm looking for funding, nobody's recognizing me. So what sort of advice would you give them? Because I mean, we spoke about it, it's not an easy journey, but it is doable.
I think do what you can with what you have. If you've got a job and you've got a passion project or something that you want to work on or see building into a business, make sure it is aligned with yourself. I think that's my first piece of advice, is firstly, do the work on your craft. So if I'm really good at training, I need to invest all my energy first into building my craft really immaculately. So that when I do walk in a room, I'm not trying to prove to you that I'm good at it. I'm showing you I'm good at it. That you can't doubt my talent, you can't doubt my work and my skill. I think that's really important, is focusing there first and going inward first. Because there are many trials that will come that will challenge your inner being. That's what gets put to the test. It's not so much the strategy or the business plan that gets put to the test. It's more your inner metal of how resilient are you. So I say do the inner work. Focus on your craft and build that to the point of then stretching. Then gently stretching. I think it doesn't have to be a jump. I think sometimes we can jump and when we're really motivated to do something, and I think that's lovely. But when the challenges come, what will you fall back on? And I think stretching gently is just as beautiful and graceful and powerful. If you have a job and you're working on your craft, putting all your effort into it, it'll also show you how much you want this thing. Attend as many events as you can with like-minded people. Grow your network, because that's where the business will come from. You will not have exorbitant funding for marketing and advertising, or your brand is not established enough to do that. Networking and building your craft while you can. And do it in a way that's easeful and graceful, so that it's not, because I do see a lot of people getting really high and low on their passion projects. I'm really excited about something and then it fizzles off. And then there's something else, and now I'm confused about what your what's your thread? What is your brand? What are you good at and what are you not good at? I think knowing that now is really important for business. I need to know what I'm not good at and what our business is not great at so that I can refer somebody else or partner with somebody else so that we are collaborating really effectively. But I think doing that first off, just going inward, doing the personal development, focusing on your craft, and then get really serious about networking with the right people.
The right people.
Let it flow. Don't force it. I think that's my biggest takeaway is don't force it. If it's a calling, if it's inside you, it won't sleep. It won't let you sleep.
Yeah.
But just go gently, plot everything out, write it all down, write every idea down. That was the biggest piece of advice that I got from a coach of mine. She said, just write everything down. And I said to her, but I don't know what I should write. What are you talking about? But she said, I don't know, just write. And if you do that, the ideas will continue to come. But just go with the flow. Don't try and force it into something you think it should be. Because often that idea of what your brain is telling you as opposed to your gut is very different. Your brain is telling you what the world might tell you it needs. But your gut is telling you what is needed in the world. And I think that's the difference in the work that we're meant to do, especially as women in business.
Yeah.
And Liza, just two last questions, right? Earlier on you mentioned the coaching and empowering programs that you have. Maybe tell us more about that so that if there are people who are interested in those particular programs, they know how to get in touch, they know how to, or which ones you have so that they can associate themselves with you.
Thank you, Zanele. I don't mind this little plug. So we at Sivuka Youth, we do coaching and training for youth. So that's anybody aged between 18 to 35 within an organization. But more importantly, our work is in young people of color. So we are trying to support their acclimatization much more easily. Undoing all those other stuff they've got in their head, all the self-limiting beliefs, all the confidence challenges. Because we're not just trying to say, here's how you do it. We're saying, what's holding you back from doing it? What are the things that are challenging you to be your best? What's challenging you to get to work on time? What's challenging your financial stress that you're carrying? Our young people of color carry so much financial stress, right? And that's not limited to young people of color. But they carry quite a big burden that they are often afraid to share. So we work with them from that perspective. So we train them from a work readiness perspective, but it's personal development. And then we plug on our coaching so that we are dealing with their real-time challenges. And then we also work with mentors and managers within organizations who need a refresher in how we at Sivuka Youth would like to shift the coaching conversations or mentoring conversations to be more inclusive, to be more aware of the struggles that we face in South Africa and not just from a global coaching standard. So anybody that wants to get in touch, they can go over to our website. It's www.sivukayouth.com and they can drop us a message and we'll be happy to get in touch.
Definitely. You mentioned you have 2 questions. One more.
Just one more, right? Because you've done so much. You have over 16 years of experience in corporate. You've also started your own business. There has been challenges that you've discussed earlier on. What's the one thing that you would say, I'm proud of myself for doing this? Or for achieving it? That one thing.
I think continuously honoring the work as opposed to our ego. I'm proud of that. As soon as our egos get involved, I think the work gets muddied. And as a team, for me, I'm so proud of my team. They work tirelessly to get this work done. I am proud of them because they always put the work ahead of our ego. And so no matter what challenge we face in the business, we're able to do it together, humbly. And I'm deeply proud of that.
I can imagine. This is close to home.
That one is big,
Yeah, I've been trying not to get emotional because I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always easy. And
Yeah.
to have a team that really understands, and works, you know, to achieving the vision, because they can also see it, is really something that's humbling. And I always appreciate and I let them know, just so that people don't, you know, feel like they're just being dragged along to accommodate your vision.
Yes.
They
You're
understand.
not doing a job.
Exactly.
You're not doing a job.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference in business as opposed to corporate. I always think about it like this, if you put in 20% effort, we get an 80% return on the impact. If you are in corporate, your 20% effort will maybe get a 5% return on the impact it can make, given the numbers and the level of people that are in the organization. But in a business, you have the opportunity to have this impact. I am deeply proud of my team. They have shifted personally in so many ways. They've pushed through their own challenges. Tato, who's been with me since day one, she pushes through every single day thinking about how can I stretch, how can I do better. And I think this work is now a living, breathing child. Child.
Yeah.
Now she's walking and she's on her own, and we are proud to be able to do that. But without us stretching and making sure we're giving off our best, she wouldn't be where she is, I think. So we continue to do that humbly for the work. It's not about us, it's about the work. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much for coming through.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody has, you know, learned a lot from this conversation. Even if you don't take everything, but just take one thing from the conversation. I mean, that's our hope. That's the purpose why we are doing this. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. Remember, very important that of something that we spoke about. Serena Williams once said that the success of every woman should be an inspiration to another. So we should lift each other up. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I am sitting with Zanele Buthelezi. So today, as we celebrate Women's Month, I had to take an opportunity to deal and to talk with another phenomenal woman. So in studio, we've got Ashalia Maharaj. Buthelezi. So today, as we celebrate Women's Month, I had to take an opportunity to deal and to talk with another phenomenal woman. So in studio, we've got Ashalia Maharaj. Just a bit about Ashalia before we continue. She is a learning professional. I love that. Learning professional, a global speaker, youth coach, facilitator, and you're the founder and director of Sivuka Youth.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that before we get into
Oh
our
my
topic.
goodness.